I'm Sean. I'm here to help business owners like you run your business more efficiently and own your success with awesome digital tools by Globe Business. Today, let's talk about cybersecurity solutions. Now that more businesses are exploring new ways to operate, like working remotely via company-issued devices and using cloud-based productivity apps, information security threats have become a concern. While online collaboration is efficient, it also poses a few security risks. Unsecured devices, unsecured data, unsecured network, data breaches due to human error, and other data security threats. Without protection, your business is at risk of cyber attacks, like hackers stealing and exposing confidential company and customer information, which can very well damage your company's reputation and may lead to loss of customers and profit. Good thing Globe Business is here to help you secure your devices, data, and private network from cyber threats with cybersecurity solutions. Keep watching to see if you are in a similar situation. Meet Chris, an IT director of a BPO company with 200 seats. To make teleworking possible, Chris has to send their employees his company devices to their homes. The problem? Chris has no control how data is being shared or downloaded on their devices, making them vulnerable to external threats. The solution? Chris's company now uses Globe Business Endpoint Security solutions like Harmony Endpoint and Harmony Mobile. Harmony Endpoint and Harmony Mobile let Chris have a dedicated team of IT experts who will centrally manage and protect their devices remotely from cyber attacks. For phishing and malicious attacks that want to steal confidential company and client data and disturb website traffic, Chris can use Harmony Email and Office and DDoS Protect. With Harmony Email and Office, Chris can protect their cloud-based tools like Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 from data privacy and security threats, while DDoS Protect keeps their servers secured from malicious attacks that want to disrupt traffic to their website. Here we have Joey, a school administrator for a state university. With all the information stored in the school network, like payment records, medical and personal information of employees and students that make schools especially vulnerable to cyber attacks, Joey is on a mission to secure the school network and protect it from online threats. The problem? Joey doesn't have the expertise and manpower to manage their network firewall. The solution? Joey now uses Globe Business Managed Firewall Solution. With a Managed Firewall Solution subscription, Joey can be rest assured that the school network stays secured from hackers with help from a dedicated team of on-call IT experts who will centrally manage and maintain their network firewall. Last but not least, we have Jen, a general manager of a multi-purpose cooperative. Jen's cooperative handles a lot of personal data from members and customers. The problem? Jen is worried about her staff accidentally exposing private data and suffering reputational damage and heavy fines. The solution? Jen now uses AdPrimus, or Automated Data Privacy Management Solution. This allows her to train and assess her employees in information privacy practices, from collecting to processing and to storing personal data in compliance with the data privacy law. With AdPrimus, Jen can identify her staff's level of knowledge and compliance with data privacy best practices to determine who can safely collect and process data to help avoid breaches caused by human errors. Who knew there were so many ways to protect your business from cyber threats? With Globe Business Cybersecurity Solutions, keeping your business operations secured is that easy. What a great way to own your success and operate your business remotely while staying secured 24/7. Ready to level up your cybersecurity and get 360 protection from online attacks? Learn more about our suite of cybersecurity solutions. Visit the Globe Business website today. Stay tuned for more Globe Business ICT solutions. I'm Sean, and this is Solutions from Sean.
provide products and services geared for the digital citizens. We provide electronic money accounts and even loan services as well. So we would like our customers to be able to access us to digital channels. And one of them would be a smartphone. And for them to be able to access our app, they would need a data connection. So with Globe Labs sponsored access, we were now able to provide our customers access to our Ian app anytime, anywhere, without the need for them to look for a Wi-Fi or any Wi-Fi hotspot, which leads to an increased engagement, increased transactions, and increased usage of our Ian app. It was quite easy to integrate your service to our Ian app without the need for programming. We digitize, not just for the sake of using technology, but to deliver a wonderful customer experience. I am Paolo Baltao. I head the Ian Banking Group of Union Bank of the Philippines, and we are powered by Globe Labs.
Ako si Emelita Candia. Right now, ako yung OIC General Manager ng Casoreco 2.
I am Rolando Pante, presently the Institutional Services Department Manager of Casoreco 2.
Ako si June Fuliante ng Casoreco 2. Ako ang Head ng Network Administration.
Casoreco 2, ito yung acronym niya ng Camarines Sur 2 Electric Cooperative. And also, Casoreco 2 has a 10 districts na ino-operate under the supervision of National Electrification Administration. 25 years na din ako sa Casoreco 2 and talagang yung ups and downs during that period ng 25 years is napakarami na talaga.
Nung binagyo kami, yun yung nawalan kami ng mga telepono. Naging problema namin, wala kaming communication sa mga consumer, hindi sila makatawag dito.
Nakarating pa sa media yung mga complaints na gano'n na, ba't gano'n yung multi-million na company walang communication system? Hindi kami maka-answer dun sa kanilang mga complaints.
So, doon pumasok yung Globe Telecom. Our ITs sees that Globe catered our needs when it comes to communications.
Yung IPPBX ng Globe na naka-program sa amin ngayon is meron siyang mga features gaya nung call log, call conference, call transfer. And also, meron pa kami nung caller ID. So right there sa telephone unit, nakikita mo na kung sino yung tumatawag. Yung talagang result ng having this IPPBX is napadali yung communication line namin between Casoreco 2 and the consumers.
Communication is very vital aspect in our operations.
Tinitingnan namin with Globe na maging partner kami for the future na mga programs. Yun yung nagustuhan ko talaga sa part ng Globe. Not only doon sa naibigay nilang convenience with our consumers, with our operation, pero yung pa ring relationship na talagang may puso yung kanilang ginagawa for the customer.
I'm Gary Caiton. I am the President and Chief Executive Officer of Dynamic Outsource Solutions Incorporated. It's better known as DOS Uno or DOS One. This was created in 2003, and we do generally customer service activities aside from the fact that we sometimes introduce new systems into the market. DOS One is a member of the Lina group of companies. 24/7, we never really go to sleep. For clients' expectations have always to be very quickly satisfied. We talked about SMS API possibilities about 2 years ago. Finally, last year, we installed it. Our problem was always how quickly do we reach our clients, and we wanted to measure this. The really surprising thing was the response grew about 25 to 39%. Your SMS API has actually solved the collection problem, no? Because we've been able to collect faster than it used to. Secondly, they could call immediately. They want clarifications. We're always there to receive the calls. This system has tremendously impacted on our revenues because productivity is higher. Then your profitability is also rises. Globe Labs is really, I love you, no, for your client. This is something that Globe created because of their need to improve customer experience. Customers today They need it now. So you have to be able to respond fast. If you are digital, you're able to be more effective. You're able to improve your productivity, perform better, and become more profitable. I would recommend Globe Labs SMS API, simply because if you want to get ahead, you cannot get ahead without it. Secondly, if you want to be more of today's millennial thinking, be there. Otherwise, you get lost. So you be relevant if you have Globe Labs SMS API. My name is Gary Cayton. I am the President and Chief Executive Officer of Dynamic Outsource Solutions, or DOS1, and we are powered by Globe Labs.
I'm Mon Pernia. I am the Director and Head of Consumer Collections for Globe. So the core mandate for my team is actually manage the receivables for Globe Postpaid and Globe Broadband Postpaid consumer. Basically the entire consumer postpaid, so around that's 2 million customers. And then the entire broadband postpaid, which is around 1.5 million customers. So that all of that goes through us. Back in 2015, which is a difficult time for my unit, our portfolio is growing. Okay, so it's really hard for us to reach out to customers. So the numbers were not really that well because again, I can only contact around 40% of the entire base. Okay, so we were actually looking around for a solution that would basically address our pain points. So we found actually this voice platform, and it was not being utilized. We had to be brave and try it out, risk it. It is actually a multi-channel platform. We basically use it to contact our customers, not just calling them, but sending them SMS. Today, we set an internal threshold. I think it's 200,000 accounts, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously, you double that because it calls twice a day, so around 400,000 calls a day. There was actually a 40% lift in our delinquencies. It's an improvement of customers paying on time. I can really attribute the success of my team majority with this platform. We now have the best numbers ever in the history of Globe. Collections almost tripled when we first started out in 2015. Obviously, it was not an overnight jump, but it is a gradual increase. I'm lucky to have this system with us right now. It's working for us. I'm Mon Pernia. I'm the Director and Head of Collections and Recoveries for Globe Telecom, and we are powered by Globe Labs.
Globe My Business Success Secrets, featuring Rural Bank of Digos in Davao was founded in 1956.
Ang kliyente sa Rural Bank of Digos Incorporated ay mga farmers and fishermen na dapat tratuhin bilang isang pamilya kasi sa kanila nanggaling ang pagkain ng ating bayan. Ang kliyente ng Rural Bank of Digos is very diverse. We have farmers, fishermen, hotel owners, karaniwang tao sa palengke, market vendors, sari-sari store owners, and construction firm owners. It's very unique when it comes to their banking needs.
The Rural Bank of Digos has 8 digitally connected branches in the Davao area.
Very personal ang relationship ng Rural Bank of Digos at ang mga kliyente namin. Customized, personalized service. That is our edge. We build relationship to our clients. Sinabi ko nga, one of our clients, si Queenie, is very successful in her bake shop. And the Mer's Kitchenette is a very successful story na tinulungan namin sila when they expand their businesses. Lahat ng branches ng Rural Bank of Digos is securely linked electronically, kaya mabilis na dedesisyonan ng management ang kailangan ng mga kliyente.
This special relationship with clients is what sets them apart from bigger commercial banks.
Malaki ang tiwala ng mga kliyente amin because of the traditional way how my lolo ran it and manage it. And this traditional way of banking will still thrive in this digital world.
Fostering a traditional relationship with clients paired with modern digital solutions has made the Rural Bank of Digos ready for the future.
Hi, I'm Sean. I'm here to help business owners like you run your business more efficiently and own your success with awesome digital tools by Globe Business. Today, let's talk about cybersecurity solutions. Now that more businesses are exploring new ways to operate, like working remotely via company-issued devices and using cloud-based productivity apps, information security threats have become a concern. While online collaboration is efficient, it also poses a few security risks. Unsecured devices, unsecured data, unsecured network, data breaches due to human error, and other data security threats. Without protection, your business is at risk of cyber attacks, like hackers stealing and exposing confidential company and customer information, which can very well damage your company's reputation and may lead to loss of customers and profit. Good thing Globe Business is here to help you secure your devices, data, and private network from cyber threats with cybersecurity solutions. Keep watching to see if you are in a similar situation. Meet Chris, an IT director of a BPO company with 200 seats. To make teleworking possible, Chris has to send their employees his company devices to their homes. The problem? Chris has no control how data is being shared or downloaded on their devices, making them vulnerable to external threats. The solution? Chris's company now uses Globe Business Endpoint Security solutions like Harmony Endpoint and Harmony Mobile. Harmony Endpoint and Harmony Mobile let Chris have a dedicated team of IT experts who will centrally manage and protect their devices remotely from cyber attacks. For phishing and malicious attacks that want to steal confidential company and client data and disturb website traffic, Chris can use Harmony Email and Office and DDoS Protect. With Harmony Email and Office, Chris can protect their cloud-based tools like Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 from data privacy and security threats, while DDoS Protect keeps their servers secured from malicious attacks that want to disrupt traffic to their website. Here we have Joey, a school administrator for a state university. With all the information stored in the school network, like payment records, medical and personal information of employees and students that make schools especially vulnerable to cyber attacks, Joey is on a mission to secure the school network and protect it from online threats. The problem? Joey doesn't have the expertise and manpower to manage their network firewall. The solution? Joey now uses Globe Business Managed Firewall Solution. With a Managed Firewall Solution subscription, Joey can be rest assured that the school network stays secured from hackers with help from a dedicated team of on-call IT experts who will centrally manage and maintain their network firewall. Last but not least, we have Jen, a general manager of a multi-purpose cooperative. Jen's cooperative handles a lot of personal data from members and customers. The problem? Jen is worried about her staff accidentally exposing private data and suffering reputational damage and heavy fines. The solution? Jen now uses AdPrimus, or Automated Data Privacy Management Solution. This allows her to train and assess her employees in information privacy practices, from collecting to processing and to storing personal data in compliance with the data privacy law. With AdPrimus, Jen can identify her staff's level of knowledge and compliance with data privacy best practices to determine who can safely collect and process data to help avoid breaches caused by human errors. Who knew there were so many ways to protect your business from cyber threats? With Globe Business Cybersecurity Solutions, keeping your business operations secured is that easy. What a great way to own your success and operate your business remotely while staying secured 24/7. Ready to level up your cybersecurity and get 360 protection from online attacks? Learn more about our suite of cybersecurity solutions. Visit the Globe Business website today. Stay tuned for more Globe Business ICT solutions. I'm Sean, and this is Solutions from Sean.
provide products and services geared for the digital citizens. We provide electronic money accounts and even loan services as well. So we would like our customers to be able to access us to digital channels. And one of them would be the smartphone. And for them to be able to access our app, they would need a data connection. So with Globe Labs sponsored access, we were now able to provide our customers access to our Ian app anytime, anywhere, without the need for them to look for a Wi-Fi or any Wi-Fi hotspot, which leads to an increased engagement, increased transactions, and increased usage of our Ian app. It was quite easy to integrate your service to our Ian app without the need for programming. We digitize, not just for the sake of using technology, but to deliver a wonderful customer experience. I am Paolo Baltao. I head the Ian Banking Group of Union Bank of the Philippines, and we are powered by Globe Labs.
Ako si Emelita Candia. Right now, ako yung OIC General Manager ng Casureco 2.
I am Rolando Pante, presently the Institutional Services Department Manager of Casureco 2.
Ako si June Fuliante ng Casureco 2. Ako ang head ng Network Administration.
Casureco 2, ito yung acronym niya ng Camarines Sur 2 Electric Cooperative. And also, Casureco 2 has a 10 districts na ino-operate under the supervision of National Electrification Administration. 25 years na din ako sa Casureco 2 and talagang yung ups and downs during that period ng 25 years is napakarami na talaga.
Nung binagyo kami, yun yung nawalan kami ng mga telepono, naging problema namin, wala kaming communication sa mga consumer, hindi sila makatawag dito.
Nakarating pa sa media yung mga complaints na gano'n na, ba't gano'n yung multi-million na company walang communication system? Hindi kami maka-answer dun sa kanilang mga complaints.
So, doon pumasok yung Globe Telecom. Our ITs sees that Globe catered our needs when it comes to communications.
Yung IPPBX ng Globe na naka-program sa amin ngayon is meron siyang mga features gaya nung call log, call conference, call transfer. And also, meron pa kami nung caller ID. So right there sa telephone unit, nakikita mo na kung sino yung tumatawag. Yung talagang result ng having this IPPBX is napadali yung communication line namin between Casureco 2 and the consumers.
Communication is very vital aspect in our operations.
Tinitingnan namin with Globe na maging partner kami for the future na mga programs. Yun yung nagustuhan ko talaga sa part ng Globe. Not only doon sa naibigay nilang convenience with our consumers, with our operation, pero yung pa ring relationship na talagang may puso yung kanilang ginagawa for the customer.
I'm Gary Caiton. I am the President and Chief Executive Officer of Dynamic Outsource Solutions Incorporated. It's better known as DOS Uno or DOS One. This was created in 2003, and we do generally customer service activities aside from the fact that we sometimes introduce new systems into the market. DOS One is a member of the Lina group of companies. We're 24/7. We never really go to sleep. For clients' expectations have always to be very quickly satisfied. We talked about SMS API possibilities about 2 years ago. Finally, last year, we installed it. Our problem was always how quickly do we reach our clients, and we wanted to measure this. The really surprising thing was the response grew about 25 to 39%. Your SMS API has actually solved the collection problem, no? Because we've been able to collect faster than it used to. Secondly, they could call immediately. They want clarifications, we're always there to receive the calls. This system has tremendously impacted on our revenues. Because productivity is higher, then your profitability is also rises. Globe Labs is really, I love you, no, for your client. This is something that Globe created because of their need to improve customer experience. Customers today they need it now. So you have to be able to respond fast. If you are digital, you're able to be more effective. You're able to improve your productivity, perform better, and become more profitable. I would recommend Globe Labs SMS API, simply because if you want to get ahead, you cannot get ahead without it. Secondly, if you want to be more of today's millennial thinking, be there. Otherwise, you get lost. So you be relevant if you have Globe Labs SMS API. My name is Gary Caiton. I am the President and Chief Executive Officer of Dynamic Outsource Solutions, or DOS1, and we are powered by Globe Labs.
I'm Mon Pernia. I am the Director and Head of Consumer Collections for Globe. So the core mandate for my team is actually manage the receivables for Globe Postpaid and Globe Broadband Postpaid consumer. Basically the entire consumer postpaid, so around that's 2 million customers. And then the entire broadband postpaid, which is around 1.5 million customers. So that all of that goes through us. Back in 2015, which is a difficult time for my unit, our portfolio is growing. Okay, so it's really hard for us to reach out to customers. So the numbers were not really that well because again, I can only contact around 40% of the entire base. Right? So we were actually looking around for a solution that would basically address our pain points. So we found actually this voice platform, and it was not being utilized. We had to be brave and try it out, risk it. It is actually a multi-channel platform. We basically use it to contact our customers, not just calling them, but sending them SMS. Today, we set an internal threshold. I think it's 200,000 accounts, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously, you double that because it calls twice a day, so around 400,000 calls a day. There was actually a 40% lift in our delinquencies. It's an improvement of customers paying on time. I can really attribute the success of my team majority with this platform. We now have the best numbers ever in the history of Globe. Collections almost tripled when we first started out in 2015. Obviously, it was not an overnight jump, but it is a gradual increase. I'm lucky to have this system with us right now. It's working for us. I'm Mon Pernia. I'm the Director and Head of Collections and Recoveries for Globe Telecom, and we are powered by Globe Labs.
Globe My Business Success Secrets, featuring Rural Bank of Digos in Davao was founded in 1956.
Ang kliyente sa Rural Bank of Digos Incorporated ay mga farmers and fishermen na dapat tratuhin bilang isang pamilya kasi sa kanila nanggaling ang pagkain ng ating bayan. Ang kliyente ng Rural Bank of Digos is very diverse. We have farmers, fishermen, hotel owners, karaniwang tao sa palengke, market vendors, sari-sari store owners, and construction firm owners. It's very unique when it comes to their banking needs.
The Rural Bank of Digos has 8 digitally connected branches in the Davao area.
Very personal ang relationship ng Rural Bank of Digos at ang mga kliyente namin. Customized, personalized service. That is our edge. We build relationship to our clients. Sinabi ko nga, one of our clients, si Queenie, is very successful in her bake shop. And the Mer's Kitchenette is a very successful story na tinulungan namin sila when they expand their businesses. Lahat ng branches ng Rural Bank of Digos is securely linked electronically, kaya mabilis na dedesisyonan ng management ang kailangan ng mga kliyente.
This special relationship with clients is what sets them apart from bigger commercial banks.
Malaki ang tiwala ng mga kliyente amin because of the traditional way how my lolo ran it and managed it. And this traditional way of banking will still thrive in this digital world.
Fostering a traditional relationship with clients paired with modern digital solutions has made the Rural Bank of Digos ready for the future.
Globe Business Academy, in partnership with NADPOP and AdPrimus, presents a webinar on data privacy and security for financial institutions. This is an exclusive and free online event of Globe Business that intends to introduce tools and techniques that financial institutions can use to provide data privacy and security. In their sole discretion, the Masterclass on Data Privacy and Security for Financial Institutions administrators have the right to mute and impose action to any inappropriate, abusive, obscene, illegal, disruptive, and/or otherwise deemed contrary to law or public morals without prior notice. Any information shared during the live stream will be viewable by other participants in the webinar. We discourage participants from sharing personal information such as name, location, contact details, and other sensitive information in the comment section for your own protection. Globe Business, their affiliates, partners, representatives, and all staff and employees involved in this event shall not be liable for any unauthorized distribution or malicious use of information. The views and opinions expressed by the host or live guests do not necessarily reflect the position of Globe Business Academy's Masterclass, its management, and Globe Telecom. Globe afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We will begin our webinar shortly. We are using Zoom webinar today. For our audience, please note that we have temporarily disabled your audio. For a better experience, make sure to connect to a stable internet source to avoid unintentional disconnection in our virtual webinar room. In case you lose connection to our virtual meeting room, refresh or reload the link to our virtual webinar room to access our webinar session. If you have any questions and queries for our speakers, please click the chat box to send a direct message to our webinar, and we will try to address it during the Q&A portion. Lastly, this webinar is recorded for documentation purposes. Thank you. Well, Globe afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. We'd like to welcome you to Globe Business Academy presents a webinar on data privacy and security for financial institutions in partnership with the National Association of Data Protection Officers in the Philippines. Ako po si Sonja Kalit, and I will be your host and moderator for today's webinar. Kamusta naman po kayo? Are you having your merienda or nagmerienda na ba kayo? Well, feel free to grab a coffee or grab a drink while you learn from this afternoon's masterclass. Again, our webinar is about data privacy and security for financial institutions, which is actually the second in a series of webinars for our finance industry. We actually had our first one last April, and that was about business continuity planning. And here we are now, diba? Well, some of you may ask why Globe Business Academy is doing this masterclass or this webinar. Well, the main reason behind that is Globe Business Academy really wants to provide its members and partners adequate support that they need to grow and thrive in this digital world. In this webinar, Globe Business Academy, together with the National Association of Data Protection Officers of the Philippines, or NADPOP for short, aims to introduce tools and techniques that financial institutions may use to come up with their data privacy and security policies and strategies. Participants will earn a certificate as proof of their attendance, so we encourage you to please stay until the end of the webinar and answer the post-event survey so you can receive your certificate. With that being said, please allow me to call on screen the Business Intelligence and Tech Enablement Head of Globe Business to introduce our guest of honor. Hello, Ms. Trilby Lim. Welcome.
Hello, good afternoon, Sonja, and thank you for the introduction. So welcome everyone, Globe Afternoon. Welcome to our valued members of the financial services industry, to our guests and valued partners from the Rural Banker Association of the Philippines, Chamber of Pawnbrokers of the Philippines, Microfinance Council of the Philippines, Microinsurance MBA Association of the Philippines, Model Cooperative Network, and cooperative leagues and unions from all over the country. Thank you for being here. So as a business intelligence professional, I realized that the amount of data companies have access to is increasing rapidly, especially in this digital age. Collecting, processing, and storing data has become much easier So as data collectors, we know that data is power. As the cliche goes, with great power comes great responsibility. Financial institutions in particular hold very sensitive customer information that is a prime target for cyber criminals. So in the past year alone, we've seen news of data breaches and cyber attacks hitting several financial institutions, big and small alike. In fact, it was reported last year that BSP received about 100 complaints on phishing crimes. So our BSP governor, Diokno, also said in one of his online talks last year that because of more widespread use of digital transactions, there's also a corresponding increase in cyber threats. That is why Globe Business is happy to organize events like this to show support to our banks, cooperatives, pawn shops, insurers, and microfinance institutions. By hosting this free learning session on data privacy and security, we aim to help your organization protect itself against costly data breaches. We are thankful to the National Association of Data Protection Officers of the Philippines and the Philippine Computer Emergency Response Team for sharing their expertise with us. Today's session, as mentioned by Sonia a while ago, is the second in a series of webinars for the finance industry. We at Globe Business aim to provide capacity building programs such as these, partnered with a wide range of digital solutions from reliable internet and branch connectivity to affordable data privacy and cybersecurity solutions, so that your financial institution can continue to safely digitize financial services and continue the journey for greater financial inclusivity. So to kickstart our program for this afternoon, allow me to introduce our special guest. Our guest of honor is the founding president of the National Association of Data Protection Officers of the Philippines, an organization that aims to inspire, empower, and prosper data protection officers. He is a certified data protection officer and is also a cybersecurity advocate. He is also a career and business mentor, inspiring and empowering startups, as well as pivoting, forming, and transforming businesses in developing and developed markets and industries. It is with my great honor to call on screen Mr. Sam Acoba.
Thank you, Globe Business Academy. Good afternoon, everyone, and let me welcome you to this timely and relevant masterclass on data privacy and cybersecurity. We are all in the midst of our respective digital transformation journeys, ushered in unexpectedly by the perfect storm caused by the pandemic. Within this digital transformation storm, allow me to share with you 3 ways how you can anchor on data privacy and cybersecurity to help you in your digital transformation journeys. Next month, the new administrative fines of the National Privacy Commission are going to take effect. They're going to fine you on your gross revenue. Are you ready for them? Thumbs up please if you're ready, or give a heart if you're not yet ready. But ready or not, this masterclass is for you. Now let's talk about 3 ways to anchor on data privacy and cybersecurity. First, we should hyper-focus on people. People are our most valuable resources, and yet they are also the weakest link in data privacy and cybersecurity. This means that we have to be passionate every day, day in and day out, to continuously educate them, train them, enable them, certify them, okay, and to protect them in parallel, especially their personal information. My colleague Tito Manuel will further expand on this, on how you can hyper-focus on people and talk after this. Second, we should continuously strengthen our business and digital ecosystems, especially during these times when data breaches and hacking are at an all-time high. Compliance to the Data Privacy Act will help you to achieve this. My colleague, Attorney Kiko Acero, will share how you can comply with the DPA in his talk. Third and last, you should drive constant and consistent innovation. We should be at par, if not better, than those who are trying to penetrate our information systems. My colleague Abit De La Cruz is going to share with you how you can innovate in data privacy and cybersecurity later in his talk. Before I end, please allow me to introduce NADPOP, or the National Association of Data Protection Officers of the Philippines, the country's first association of data privacy professionals. Our vision is to transform the country into a global center of excellence for data privacy and cybersecurity, one person at a time, one institution at a time. We do this by inspiring, prospering, and empowering thousands and thousands of DPOs to become world-class privacy and security professionals. This is our roadmap or our transformation framework for privacy professionals. We believe this will help us to fulfill our vision by adopting a competencies-based enablement and certification program for privacy professionals and the institutions that they work for. The journey to become a world-class data privacy and privacy security professional starts here with our Foundations 1 course, developed by former NPC Deputy Commissioner Don Di Mapa, who is also our senior advisor. One of our trainers, Attorney Ivy Patdu, is also a former Deputy Commissioner of the NPC, along with Attorney Kiko Acero and JP Hernandez. After this Foundations course, this is the roadmap on how you can become much better in data privacy and cybersecurity. Okay, Foundations 2, certified as a certified data privacy professional. Foundations 3, become a data privacy expert, and if you wish, you can be a certified trainer, just like Attorney Kiko, and of course, a data privacy master trainer. With this, I'd like to offer a partnership with NADPOP. Let's work together to digitally transform the Philippines and build a global center of excellence for data privacy and security, beginning with your organizations. And of course, within your transformation journey. You send an email at sam@nadpop.org so we can begin our discussion. Again, thank you very much and best wishes on your digital transformation journey anchored on data privacy and cybersecurity. Mabuhay!
Mabuhay! Thank you so much, Mr. Sam Hacoba. And I'm sure all of you now are eager to learn and eager to transform your business through solutions that will, hyper focus on people. Also, syempre kasama na dyan to help you avoid heavy penalties on your business and secure your sensitive data, especially in today's unprecedented times. We are really in a digital age right now. Well, we have industry experts lined up to introduce tools and techniques that financial institutions can use to increase their data privacy and security competency. But before we start, bigyan naman kayo ng thumbs up reactions to see how ready you are for today's masterclass. Ayan. Madami na. Thank you. Well, I'm so ready to learn with you guys. Without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker. Our subject matter expert is a certified independent privacy professional, an attorney at law, and a certified penetration testing engineer. He is currently the head of the Manila Electric Company Data Privacy Office and a faculty member of the FEU Institute of Law. And prior to his work with Manila Electric Company, Attorney Kiko was a former division chief of the Complaints and Investigation Division and the Data Security and Technical Standards Division of the National Privacy Commission. In this capacity, Attorney Kiko trained the leadership of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas on the fundamentals of data privacy and was a prime contributor to the implementing rules and regulations of the Data Privacy Act of 2012. Let us all welcome the only certified data privacy trainer of the National Association of Data Protection Officers of the Philippines. Please welcome Attorney Francis Kiko Acero.
Thank you for that, Sonja. I'm really glad to be here. My name is Francis Houston Acero. I am the head of the Data Privacy Office of the Manila Electric Company, and I'm the only certified data privacy trainer in the Philippines today. Hopefully that changes, and hopefully we have more people involved in data privacy training. But here we go, and let's talk about data privacy, the really quick version. So first of all, what is data privacy? Data privacy is the right to control the data that belongs to you as a person, as a natural person that has data collected about you. And it focuses on those who have control over that data, known as personal information controllers. Now, if you look at the structure of the Data Privacy Act of 2012, there are only 10 sections, sections 11 to 21, that talk about the rights of data subjects and the obligations of personal information controllers and processors. But yet, these provisions expand because these are already terms of art, and we know this to be that way already. This is an inherited law that comes from the Data Protection Directive of the European Union. It's an adaptation of that, and in so doing, it adheres to the growing international standard that is data privacy law. Now, why do we call it data privacy and some people call it data protection? It's because it's also understood as the right to be protected from the abuse of data by those who control it. Now, what we have in the Philippines is an accountability-based approach. An accountability-based approach only looks at consent as one of the factors or basis by which you process data. There are many other considerations that happen that allow you to process data legally. And when that happens, there is now this set of obligations that is imposed on you. So you cannot escape those obligations by saying that, oh, I just declare that these obligations are not binding on me. That's not how it works. The moment you have that data, you have to abide by the law. So what is it that we talk about when we really talk about data privacy? And what are we protecting ourselves against? We're talking about the processing. And processing is any operation or set of operations that is performed on personal data. So it starts from collection to storage, retrieval, modification, and deletion, and anywhere in between. So let's say you get this database and you just hold it for a while. You hold it in your hands like a flash drive or a hard disk, or worse yet, a phone that you have in your hands, just like this, and you hold it for a while. That possession of that data is already part of storage, and that you already are part of that processing. One particular set of collection, storage, retrieval, modification, and destruction, that is called the data life cycle. So when you look at data privacy and when you analyze such a process, you look at that particular data life cycle. You look at all the processes that go toward a particular purpose. Now let's first talk about some definitions so we don't get lost. Again, data privacy is a 60-year-old discipline. We are 60 years late to the party. But fortunately, these terms are already terms of art, and we now understand them pretty well. First, the data privacy law applies to everyone as long as you control information, whether you're a large government institution, you're a conglomerate, or a very large corporation, you're a nonprofit, you're a charity, you're a political party, you're an educational institution, you're a practicing professional, or if you're inside a small to medium enterprise, even a barangay sari-sari store that lends out money or goods, they are covered as well by data privacy. And those exceptions are strictly construed. There are 6 exceptions. If you manage your household, friends, or family through your phone or mobile device, then that's okay. That is outside the coverage of the Data Privacy Act. But once your mobile phone has information that pertains to your business, then that is no longer within that exception. The same goes for CCTVs and any such other processing that you may do. When it comes to government, anything that relates to public service or freedom of information, that is outside the scope of data privacy. When it is done for journalistic, artistic, literary, or research purposes, then that is outside the scope of data privacy. When it is done by government, the Data Privacy Act is not a shield against the procurement of evidence. Finally, and most importantly, just because your data is collected from a foreign jurisdiction, then that means that that jurisdiction's law will apply if and only if you abided by the laws in the collection of that jurisdiction and the affected data subjects are only those foreigners or residents of that jurisdiction. If they include Filipinos, then the data privacy law applies. This is because the data privacy law has worldwide jurisdiction insofar as it affects Filipinos. For that reason, we don't have data borders. You can transfer data in and out of the country, no problem, as long as you recognize that the Data Privacy Act applies to all that processing. Now, I've been talking about the data subject. What is a data subject? The data subject is a natural person, people like you and me, whose data is being processed. This definition does not include corporations or other juridical persons, because juridical persons cannot suffer physical suffering, wounded feelings, serious anxiety, mental anguish, or moral shock. Subjects have personal information, and when you control that information, it doesn't matter if all the names are redacted and changed into numbers, as long as the identity of that individual is apparent or can be reasonably and directly ascertained by the entity holding the information. That's how you know that someone is trained in Philippine law and someone is trained in foreign law, because the guy who's trained in foreign law will refer to it as personally identifiable information, which is of a much narrower scope. Now, if that information can be complexed or met with other information held elsewhere, and you can still directly and certainly identify that individual, then that is still personal information. Now, there are four kinds of sensitive personal information that the law recognizes. It's the law that recognizes it, not the individual, not whether it can cause further damage. So the four kinds are information that can be used to discriminate against you, information that can be used to humiliate you, information that can be used to identify you, and information that you understand to be confidential and privileged, such as that to tell your priest, your doctor, or your spouse in bed. That becomes sensitive personal information. Of course, that privilege doesn't extend. So your priest, your doctor, and your lawyer. Next, we have the idea of a personal information controller. And more often than not, this idea becomes confused outside, because the law says that the burden of complying with personal information protection, data privacy falls on the personal information controller. So there's a lot of times where you are going to be discussing with your legal whether who and what is the personal information controller. But the personal information controller, under the legal definition, is the individual, corporation, or body that decides to do what to do with the data being processed. So that's why we have these pictures here. Here you have a picture of Quiapo. Now all these enterprises along Quiapo, because on their own, they decide what to do with their data, then they are personal information controllers. When you have corporations, you have employees, those employees act in behalf of the corporation, and the corporation has a separate personality, separate and distinct from those that work for it. Then if you're government, like here, the CCP, the NCCA in this instance, then the NCCA, with respect to the information that it processes for the award of grants, for concerts or whatnot, they are personal information controllers. And in the same manner, a doctor that's practicing telemedicine, that has the doctor's own records for handling patients, then that doctor is also acting as a personal information controller. That's why we recognize that individuals can be personal information controllers. Sometimes some of you may have encountered a call center, especially when dealing with Globe. Those call centers that act for and in behalf of Globe are personal information processors. They are those who process data for a personal information controller. How do you distinguish? You have a purpose and means test. Purpose test is the entity processing the data for its own purpose? If yes, the entity is a personal information controller and you do not need to do any more analysis. However, if the answer is no, you have to still filter that through the means test. And in the means test, is the entity that is processing the data the one that dictates the means and controls used in the processing of the information? Controls here meaning that if there are security gaps, this entity can dictate what measures to do in case there is a security gap. If the answer is yes, then the entity is a personal information controller. If it is no, the entity is a personal information processor. Whatever you are, whether you're a controller or a processor, you have to abide by the three principles of data privacy: transparency, legitimate purpose, and proportionality. That is in Section 11 of the Data Privacy Act. Now, these are established and well-documented terms of art. Transparency means that the data subject ought to know what is happening to the data at every single step of the data journey. Every single step of the data lifecycle should be made transparent or known to the data subject. Second is legitimate purpose. So you cannot use that data to discriminate against that person. You cannot use that data to create a class of people who's now going to be discriminated. This is because the first data privacy laws were born in the German state of Hessen. That's where Frankfurt is. And that was in 1960, just 15 years after the Second World War, and we know what happened there. And the Germans, when they created their laws, they were very careful to make sure that that kind of discrimination and racism doesn't happen again, even in their tech. And we are now the descendants of that philosophy. So that's your legitimate purpose. Another point of the legitimate purpose is whatever your purpose is, that will now dictate what you collect, use, store, and how you dispose of all your data. Then you have proportionality. And under proportionality is if you can't collect it, if you can't protect it, you don't collect it. If you can't use it, you don't collect it. So you want to engage in data minimization, where the data that you process is the absolute minimum necessary for you to process the information for the purpose that you state. Out of these principles flow your data subject right. We've adopted the 8 that are included in the GDPR because it's the world standard, because they are embedded inside transparency, legitimate purpose, and proportionality. So first is the right to be informed. So, which means that you have to be informed about the data processing before it happens. Then you have the right to object, which means that if your data is being processed subject to certain limitations, you have the right to get out of that data processing. Next is the right to access. And under the right to access, the data subject has the right to know what is happening to that data once it has started once the processing has started, and they have the right to get that information in a mode that they can use. Then you have the right to correct or rectify. If the information in the database is wrong, then the data subject has a right to make sure that that is correct and have that information propagated up and down the line. Next is the right to block or remove. So if the information no longer tells the data controller who and what you are, and is no longer accurate, or was illegally obtained, then the data subject has the right to make the controller forget that that data subject ever existed. Then you have the right to data portability, which means that if you get data and then you store it in an electronic form, and it's the basis for how you are going to talk to that data subject and relate to that data subject, and then you have the obligation to provide that information to the data subject in a form that the data subject can use. Whether that gets provided to a third party or a competitor or to the data subject itself does not really matter as long as the data subject can use it. Then you have the right to be indemnified, which means that if there's a data breach or a violation of data subject rights or any other violation of data privacy laws, the data subject can collect damages from you. Then you have the right to file a complaint, which means that there cannot be a waiver of any of these data subject rights or any data privacy rights, because that is equivalent to a waiver of liability for a future offense, and that is prohibited under Philippine law. So when you say we have the right to be informed, what is that? So you have either a data subject consent form or a privacy notice. You can have a privacy notice on top of the data subject consent form, but in any event, the data subject has to know this information. Next. So you might be thinking, okay, now we know this. How do we implement this in our organization? Fortunately, the National Privacy Commission has a 5-step road to compliance. First, you need to commit to comply, so you need to appoint a data protection officer. Then you have to know your risks. You have to be able to conduct privacy impact assessments. Third, you have to write your plan. This has to be inside your company or your entity or organization's legislative profile, such that every single person in your organization knows that this is the right thing to do, and if they don't do it, they will get into trouble. Fourth is you have to be accountable. You have to be able to implement your privacy and data protection measures. In this country, especially in this country, we have such a large gap between planning and implementation and execution. Data privacy and data protection is measured by the results. Everything else before this, they are tools to be able, for you to be able to get those results. And as tools, they are very specific to be able for you to reach those results. You cannot copy paste, or you cannot just get another company's approach and apply it to your system speed wholesale. If that happens, you will always have gaps and you will always have problems down the road. And finally, you have to be prepared. You have to be able to exercise your breach procedure. That's because every single data protection authority in the world considers a data breach to be an inevitability. So it's not the breach that's going to be penalized, but how prepared you are to face the consequences of a data breach. Now, the first step is to get the DPO. And the DPO should have specialized knowledge and demonstrable reliability. The DPO must have sufficient understanding of the processing that happens within the controller and within the industry of the controller. And then finally, the DPO must have independence in the performance of his functions. How do you guarantee that independence? You get that because you recognize that the DPO's duty is to protect the data usually from the controller. So there will be times where the DPO will issue an opinion that is contrary to the interests of the controller. The DPO should be protected from any repercussion from such an opinion. Thus, if you have a DPO, that DPO should not be assigned any subject matter or any task that creates a conflict of interest. What would be a conflict of interest here? Conflict of interest will arise if there are duties that make that DPO a process owner or somebody who manages the flow of data inside the organization for a particular purpose of the organization. The DPO is there to check, and as a third party, it's almost like a third party check. And as an external check on the process, you do not want that DPO to be so close to be bereft of objectivity. In case that there is a dispute between the DPO and the rest of management, the DPO should be able to document that dispute such that if something happens, then the NPC can come in and examine those records. If those records are absent, then it's worse for the organization because then the organization did not appoint a DPO that knew his job. If you document it, then you are able to further pinpoint where your gaps are. This is an instance where being more honest and truthful actually helps you with the regulator. So how do you know where your problems are? You need to do a gap analysis. So you have a gap when you have a violation of a data privacy principle, transparency, legitimate purpose, or proportionality. You have inadequate measures to safeguard the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of data. Confidentiality is that the data goes to the people to whom it is supposed to go. Integrity is that the data is accurate, and availability is that the data is there and ready for use when necessary and called upon. Or if there are undue restrictions on the exercise of data subject rights. Some people and some entities, because they get so scared of data privacy, they tend to clam up and prevent the use of any of the data. That can be a problem when it is the data subject himself or herself requiring that information. In that case, if there is an undue prohibition on the exercise of data subject rights, then you can land in the same hot water. To get there, you also need to be able to identify the threats and vulnerabilities of your system, not just from external actors through vulnerability assessment or penetration testing, but also from internal factors, such as when you finally put your database into production, can it handle the load? That we find out through stress testing. Then you also have to be realistic about the likelihood of the risks. What happens if this data gets out? How likely is that? The proper and proportionate reaction to the risk involved is also part of data privacy. If you put in exaggerated measures to protect against a risk that will not become real, then that is something that is inadequate and you can get dinged for that. So I was talking about organizational, physical, and technical measures. These measures relate the kind of threats that you face. Organizational measures attack threats that arise from the nature of the users, whether they're political in nature or whether it's a characteristic of the user involved. Then you have physical measures, which talk about the physical properties. Where is, for example, where is the server located inside the building? Where are the filing cabinets located inside the room? Then you have technical measures. These are measures that protect against hacking, against natures that are inherent because of the nature of the mode of processing that you take, whether it's paper or digital. Here, I would emphasize that the earlier you go into your digital transformation, the better, because the more digital your processing is, the more safe and secure it is. What happens if we do nothing? You can have fines for the institution and imprisonment for those personally responsible. There's a set of fines that's set to come in on August 2021, which range from 1 to 5% of your previous year's annual gross income for violations of the principles of data privacy, transparency, legitimate purpose, or proportionality, or failure to provide complete consent. And complete consent talks about providing information about the nature, duration, and purpose of the consent. Finally, it doesn't just apply to you, but also to third parties to whom you deal with data. So if you're a controller, it really puts the onus on you to make sure that your processors really abide by data privacy and data protection principles. Now, if a complaint reaches the National Privacy Commission, and that's how you know that there are gaps, this can lead to criminal penalties, and these are cumulative. So at maximum, you can face 17 years imprisonment and up to 7 million pesos in fines. The NPC has 4 levels of compliance that it recognizes. First is deliberately non-compliant, where they do not appreciate the gravity or the need for data protection or data privacy, or they think that they can just manage the National Privacy Commission, the regulator. They face the full extent of the law. Next, you have those who are ignorant, and the NPC no longer recognizes the ignorant because they've been practicing and preaching data privacy for 5-6 years at this point. Then you have paper compliance, which means you have the semblance of data privacy, but it's only on paper. The NPC also does not look too kindly on this because, again, data privacy is measured in operation. And so the only form of compliant in terms of data privacy is operational compliance, where the compliance with data privacy is self-evident and continues to grow within the organization. Again, I am Attorney Kiko Acero. I am the Certified Data Privacy Trainer for NADPOP. Thank you to Globe for having me and giving me the opportunity to talk to you. And off to you, Sonja, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Attorney Kiko. You know, that was really, I would say, eye-opening. And I hope everyone here can see how urgent and how important data privacy is. I mean, terms like data breach, threats, non-compliance, that sounds really grave and serious, right? So I hope that you understand that if you comply with data privacy regulations, not only will you save your business and your reputation, but you will also avoid the huge fines and penalties that Attorney Kiko mentioned earlier. And one of the things that Attorney Kiko also mentioned earlier is measures that companies can take to prevent data privacy breaches. And one of those is organizational control measures, which addresses the nature of the data users. And that is precisely what our next speaker will talk to you about. Our next subject matter expert is a training, coaching, and mentoring specialist in the field of human relations, human resources development, education, consulting services, sales and marketing, and team synergy for over 40 years. He is an information technology expert with more than 4 decades of experience in emerging technologies. Everyone, let us all welcome the founding chairman of National Association of Data Protection Officers of the Philippines and the president of CodeTech Corporation, Mr. Titus Manuel. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, Sonja. Welcome to my masterclass. My name is Titus Manuel. My background is in IT and data privacy. I've been in the IT industry for close to about 40 years. So you're going to hear not only the technical side, but also the experience side as far as this program is concerned. We're going to talk about the automated data privacy management solution, but most of all about data privacy and how it will affect your kind of organization. Okay, we're going to cover 5 subject matters today. One is the first issue will actually be the 5 data privacy competencies or data PPP. That's what we actually call them. And then the key things to look out for that can cause data breach due to human error. Why should you regularly train and assess your employees' understanding of DPA guidelines? What is the DRIMAS or the automated data privacy management solution? And finally, the best practices for finance industries and forming special interest groups, which is actually my specialty. So there are 5 competencies that we have to cover that's very critical in our program. And when we're looking forward to this, you guys accomplishing this one, you're looking at novice, apprentice, intermediate, advanced, and expert. Why are they important? Because they're also aligned to your profession and your position in the company. The requirement for the data privacy, you must be at some level in when it comes to proficiency, because you're going to handle sensitive personal information. There are journeys after that you have to accomplish. All of them will be part of the documentation that will be given for you. The proficiency is based on education, training, and exposure. What are the human errors when it comes to data breaches? Well, according to the survey, there are about 8 of them. The first one is account and password sharing. Very common to a lot of people who are actually being pressured by their boss to surrender their password because they want to shortcut the activity. Second one is management override of controls. That's another related to sharing of passwords. Again, guys, it is close to your heart. If it's given to you and no other person, if you were given an instruction not to share it, so be it. And then the use of unchecked personal devices for businesses. In some organizations, they actually have what they call the common Wi-Fi. And you can bring your gadget along with you. That is dangerous, especially if you use the gadget in free Wi-Fi area where you actually access their Wi-Fi. You just downloaded all the multiple viruses that can come your way, and you're going to pass that on to your environment. The lack of data loss prevention controls, that will normally happens if you have not, or rather finished the privacy impact assessment. It's the risk control. High number of exceptions to policies. Because people are actually reluctant to be strict on policies, they make it as loose as possible. Whereas basically nobody follows it in the first place. It's not strong enough to be able to compel for people to be compelled to follow what the program says. And then hiring criminals due to lack of background check. Well, there are times that you have to be limited with your checking because of the data privacy also. But it is the obligation of HR to make sure that nobody, not hireable, be in your office because they can mount a certain kind of program that will actually be problematic in your own institution. The lack of system and user monitoring. If your IT says so, you follow it. If the policy says so, you follow it. Make sure that you're actually complying the requirements of the law. And then finally, ignoring inactive orphan and excessive number of privileges accounts for a long period of time. They must be truncated or removed from the system after such period of time. Again, This must be clear and made very clear in your policy programs. Why should you regularly train and assess your employee? Understanding of DPA guidelines, because training and education is the first line of defense. Nothing more, nothing less. You have to also identify the gap between the current and required levels of knowledge, skills, and attitude. If you don't know your baseline figures, you will never be able to understand how do you move from 1 to 10. So very important that you actually have your, what we call your baseline figures. Upgrading and updating of knowledge relevant to the changes in laws, circulars, and advisories. Why is this critical? Because ultimately the laws will change. As a matter of fact, a change is about to happen where you have to pay fines based on 4% of your gross revenue. That becomes probably effective sometime next month. And when it does, believe me, we will change the program appropriately. Monitor slippages in the performance of duties. It happens all the time to everyone, to the best and to the worst. So make sure you follow the program and you update yourself on a regular basis. That's why you have to train yourself on a regular basis. What gets measured gets improved. That came from me, by the way. What is the most important part is when you don't measure anything, you don't get to improve it in the first place. You don't know where you're going to start and you don't know where you're going to end. So you have to use measurement to be able to make sure you understand where you are at this point in time. How do you progress to the next level? This is the premise that we're talking about. The automated data privacy management solution is the very best, or the well, number one in the Philippines when it comes to software as a service. Anong ibig sabihin nun? What does that mean? It also means that you are actually able to run a program or buy a system at almost the price of subscribing to a telephone line. That is what Adprimas offers to you. The next part natin, this is your dashboard, by the way. And you see everything there. When your dashboard shows you the activity and also the people who took the exam and those who did not, and also those who passed and are currently taking the exam. Isn't that nice, guys? The other part, you can train anytime, anywhere. As we will discuss later on, the training program can be multiple parts or can be different ways in the most comfortable for any person in your institution. And of course, competency preparedness and severity analysis. This is the headache of an HR. Imagine, this will now be automated and the HR will just download it or take a look at the results and show that to the management. Less effort, almost accurate, and again, accurate to the point that the mistakes will only be limited. But, and the most important part is, it did not cost you a single time. Or you need almost done by the automated system. And continuous program, we discuss about this issue because there will always be changes in the program. The law is a living document. What you actually do in the office is something that you have to be aware of that is continuously changing, and the bridge is always coming your way. And then it's easy access. The part I like the most about the program is you don't have to change your infrastructure. Whatever you have will work because it is based on online. It's based on a website that you actually is something that you just like watching a YouTube channel. And this is where we actually come in, the most exciting part. The Adprimas program or the Adprimas competencies, they are based on the 9 bubbles that you're seeing it right now. It is also based on the compliance framework ng Managed HR ng National Privacy Commission. Tawag nila dyan, they call it the DPAC, Data Privacy Accountability and Compliance Framework. You are able to establish a baseline figures. We go talk about that one continuously. If you don't know where you are, you will not know how to proceed to the next level. You identify weaknesses and strengths. It doesn't mean that a person that fails requires or needs to be fired out or removed from office. The most important about this program is to identify the person's weakness and what kind of training program that person needs to undertake or undergo so that you are able to comply with the requirements of the law. Guide management on personal monitoring. You see the progress. When you do continuous assessment, you train people, you realize they will be more adept to changes and moving forward in terms of improvements. And of course, a supporting document for training needs analysis. That's the weakness of the HR. because they have to create a program training that can be defended in management. It does not come from just an opinion. It is based on facts because that's where it is born, from coming from facts and coming from the solutions available through the Adprimas program. Why did they pick this program? The authors are pioneers in data privacy. I have an example. I've been around for close to more than 4 years. Some of my contemporaries also have experience not only in privacy, but also running a business. That means we have the practical side, not only the theoretical side. It converted the manual work of the HR and DPO into automated system. That means this is a tool of the trade. It doesn't compete with a lot of solutions available in the market. It becomes a tool for the DPO. A content and application best suited for local conditions. It is designed for Filipinos, for the Philippines, but also for Filipinos who have attachments to foreign data. The cost to acquire is comparable, I like this one, to a high-end monthly phone subscription. Imagine owning a system that costs you not an arm and a leg, but your normal monthly telephone subscription. Isn't that nice? No? There's no need to purchase and install new technology equipment. Oftentimes that becomes a burden. You have to arrange a lot of things. You have to ask management approval. You have to have a budget for that one. But this one, no. Just buy the system, install it, some part of the program, and you have a running immediately. On the day you actually subscribe to the program, there's a short learning curve. Yes, definitely, because it's designed with utmost simplicity. Update and maintenance of the agreement. Again, the Data Privacy Act is a living document. Changes happens on a regular basis, particularly in the Philippines, where still we are in the infancy stage. So there will be changes. That's our issue. That's our work. And all you need to do is to keep the subscription going, and we will provide the updates for you guys. Outputs makes management decision to focus on execution rather than evaluation. So you don't have to have a legal battle with your board, because when you show documents, it comes from data that's almost undeniably true. And it will help the management decide whether they will go for it, or they will timetable it, or they will deny it for some reason. No? And then you will see this kind of results coming your way. So there it is, the Adprimas, what we call the assessment tool or severity report. You have a program to this one, the online training program. We have covered the data privacy fundamentals, the risk management, the breach management, the InfoSec, and business digitalization. All these are available at this Adprimas program that you are being offered to. How do you run a training program? It could be self-paced learning. You have seen this program before. All you need to do, all you have is a review. Then the self-paced learning program is actually there. Or you might want something of where the teacher must be there. So you have what we call the facilitator assistant. The same program, but this time you can buy or you can subscribe to the presence of the facilitator. Normally, this is the author who created the program. And finally, the special interest groups. This is the most important part. This is my baby, by the way. The best way to be able to understand or to be able to comply with the privacy requirements is to have a special interest group where you actually share the following things: experience, research, sharing ideas, tricks of the trade, you name it, it's there. The special interest group is the one that will actually be sharing of best practices. So at the end of the day, if there's a problem, someone is understanding you. The problem with a lot of people who run the program in privacy, they only them know it in the office. They have no one to talk with. But with a special interest group, we have a support system. It comes very handy for you guys, and everybody learns from everyone's experience. I hope you learned something today. I'd like to be able to thank Globe for asking me to be able to be present in this masterclass and to be able to share my experience with you guys. And if you have some questions, you know whom to get in touch with. So back to you, Sonja.
Thank you so much, Mr. Titus Manuel. Well, we really learned a lot. And, as shared by Sir Titus, there really are a lot of ways that human error can be the cause of data breaches. And that's why employees should regularly be trained to understand the guidelines of the Data Privacy Act and the assessment and training tool that Sir Titus mentioned. And Adprimas will definitely be helpful in educating and assisting your in your company in complying with the DPA. And nakakatuwa because you can avail of it for the price of a monthly phone bill only. Ang galing, di ba? And having said that, we have an exclusive offer to our attendees of this masterclass. The first 10 companies to subscribe to AdPrimas through Globe Business will be given a free vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, or VAPT. This promo will run until September 15, 2021, hand in hand with training your employees on data privacy understanding. The VAPT will address technical control measures, as Attorney Kiko put it, to prevent data privacy breaches. This is to help your company become aware of potential cyber hacking risks to your businesses. If you'd like to learn more about this offer, just access the link in the chat box. Again, we are providing a link in our chat box, and you can access it to learn more. And on that note, let me move on to our third and last speaker for today's masterclass. Our last subject matter expert is a founder and director of the Philippine Emergency Response Team. He authored several information technology security policies for private and public organizations and has contributed to various IT and security related legislations for the Philippine government, namely RA 8792, RA 10173, RA 10175, the National Standard for Digital Certification Authorities, the National Standard for Information Management Systems, the Rules for Electronic Evidence, and the Rules for Electronic Notarization. He is also a certified Information Security Systems professional, presently a certified Information Security Manager, a certified Global Industrial Control System professional, and a Global Critical Controls certified professional. Grabe, sobrang bigati ng ating next speaker. So let us all welcome the founder and director of the Philippine Computer Emergency Response Team, Mr. Abet de la Cruz.
Hi, thank you, Sonja, for that very nice introduction. Again, I'm Abet de la Cruz, and thank you for taking my masterclass. I am an information security professional. Been doing this for a couple of decades already, and I hope that this moment you'll learn a few things about information security and cybersecurity. So without further ado, let's move on. Okay, my class today is actually titled Basic Cybersecurity Hygiene. Okay, so it's I know the field of information security is quite big. Actually, you know, it's the only field in IT, I would say, that cuts across everything. You know, your application security, web security, network security. So at times it's a little bit too much to handle. Okay, so let me just go back. You know, play a couple of years back on how security was supposed to was before. Okay? If we are in a network, such as yourself, if you have your own network, normally you would have a firewall, okay, that big shiny box there that protects you from the internet, making out to be like the traffic cop, sort of, which tells your network which data to receive, which data to accept. And then, of course, the internal network, you have your corporate laptops, your wired desktops, and of course, now you have wireless. You also have photocopying machines and printers over there. And of course, you have your servers. So in this scenario, you have the firewall to protect you, right? Okay. However, and largely thanks to the internet, we now have what we call the cloud, okay? The mysterious cloud. So it's actually much easier to do business today than before. Like I said from the previous slide, you need to have a lot of equipment, a lot of hardware, a lot of software, so that you can have at least a semblance of an acceptable IT infrastructure. But because of these developments, this progress in technology, you can have now your email outside of your network. You don't need an email server. You can have Office 365. If you want, let's say, a help desk support system, there's Zendesk. And of course, Google has everything, meetings, mail, calendars. If you want project management, you have Asana. If you want storage, there's Dropbox. And of course, like what we're doing now, communicating, we have Zoom. Customer relationship manager, that's Salesforce. Website, you have Wix. And of course, if you really, really still want to have that server, there's always that infrastructure as a service. So you can go to Amazon and, rent out virtual servers without having to worry about CapEx. Right? So hindi mo na kailangan bumili ng servers para maglagay ng mga software and hardware. You can just rather subscribe from Amazon, and then in a matter of minutes, you can have a server up and running. Right? So really wonderful things that the cloud has brought us. This is a very sort of like a favorite slide of mine. I know the word digital transformation has been going around. No, what's digital transformation? Making all of your manual processes into digital. So the question was, who led the digital transformation of your company? A, the CEO, B, the CTO, or C, COVID-19? So alam na natin yung sagot dyan, di ba? Lahat ngayon ng digital transformation napabilis, okay, because of COVID-19, because, people can't go out, can't be there physically. So in as much as, it's a bad thing for all of us in the entire world, it actually drove yung digital transformation quite faster than we expected it to be. Okay, then, like I said, because of the pandemic, all of those things physical, like going to Jollibee, deposit your bank, even going to hospitals, malls, buying your hardware, your apparel, having your haircut, going to the spa, your manicure, your pedicure. This seems to be a little bit now a thing of the past after the 2 years that we've been going through. As you can see on the right, the now, there's only 3 things now that can do all of this. No? We're not counting the delivery, of course, but it's either your phone, your computer, and the internet. That's really the 3 things we have now that can do all of those things that we used to do before. Right? So as you can see, if you were in an internal network before, your clients or your users were limited inside the network. But now, because of the cloud, because of the pandemic, then, it just kind of gotten loose to all parts of the globe. Doesn't really matter where you are now. Kahit nasa ka na, kahit nasa bus station ka pa or wherever, you can now connect and access your applications. And, as like I said, you can order stuff now using your phone, your laptop or computer, and the internet. So I liken that to be, the old IT infrastructure before, where we have a castle in a moat. No, it's easy to protect yung castle mo. No, maglalagay ka lang ng tubig sa paligid, pwede mong dagdagan ng buhaya, para hindi makakapasok yung mga kalaban, right? So there's a protection sort of around your castle. But because of, again, all of the reasons that I've said earlier, that changed a lot. There's now connectivity everywhere. In fact, if you want to do business nowadays, hindi na pwedeng isolated yung network mo because you need to connect with all of your clients outside your corporate IT. Okay? So that is now the new scenario that we have. Which brings us to a concept we call zero trust. Okay, so what is zero trust? Kasi before, when we had the network, we had the firewall to protect us. I'm sure you probably still have a firewall now in your office or in your company. Is that we used to say, trust but verify. Okay, so you can trust devices, you can trust persons, logins, but you always have to verify. So we have some sort of authentication method to verify kung yung nag-access ba talaga siya yun. Tung device na to, yan ba talaga yun? Atin ba yan talaga? Now, because of all the things that had happened, this concept of zero trust has now been floated. Actually, is gaining ground. Now, instead of saying trust but verify, we say never trust and always verify. Okay? So as you can see, nawala na yung mga protection natin sa perimeter, nawala na yung castle, nawala na yung moat. Why? Because of the technology, no? You cannot compare your security before when you were in a small network na confined with the firewall to now in which everybody is connected, which is the internet. So it only makes sense that even though you're in the network or out of your network, you should no longer be that complacent, di ba? And you shouldn't let your guard down. No? It's because of all the technologies that are present today, because of the internet, because of the connectivity to anywhere else. So that's why we move from trust but verify to never trust, always verify. So that's a little bit of a summary of the security infrastructure and paradigms that we have today. And the reality is, despite all of these, there's still reasons why you can't sleep at night. Okay. Actually, there's a lot of reasons why you can't sleep at night. Lately, we have been bombarded by a lot of news about, data leakages, especially lately ransomware. How ransomware shut down an oil pipeline, how it exposed several patients' data from hospitals. Well, all of these because of either poor information security habits, posture, or not really thinking about security at all. Now, we'll get to that later. Again, these are some, if not all, of the reasons why you can't sleep at night, and these are all what we call the threats that are happening today. Okay, I won't enumerate them anymore, but feel free to read through them. And these are really stuff that are happening today. And even as we speak, some of these are probably in progress or happening, or somebody's already get hacked. Which brings us to the point, no? Before, we had the firewall to protect everybody that was inside the network. But now those end users are so dispersed that actually the protection, and may I say the war, has already spread such that even on the endpoint, your computers, your phone, should have ample protection. Okay? So dati we think about, antivirus software or endpoint security as the last resort. Kasi meron tayong firewall to protect us inside the network. But now that things have changed, we must move that protection, or we must strengthen the protection to the endpoint, to our phones and our computers. And that's why we have what we call endpoint security. Now, what is endpoint security? To us, nasanay na tayo na tawagin endpoint security is antivirus. So if we are confused about endpoint security, ito yung antivirus po dati. Well, the reason it's now endpoint security is because they added a lot more protection features, controls into that software. Kaya medyo naging complete siya, naging endpoint security, which we will discuss in the next slide. Okay. So what is endpoint security? Bibili ba ako ng endpoint security? Bibili ba ako ng antivirus? Ano bang kailangan laman or kailangan features nung endpoint security na kailangan kong gawin? Or kailangan kong makuha kung bibili man ako ng endpoint security? So one definitely is protection from threats spread by email. So dapat yung endpoint security mo will be able to scan your email and will be able to scan yung attachments, of course, ng mga email mo. You should have, the endpoint security software should also have protection from malicious web downloads. May capability siya dapat na i-scan yung mga dina-download ng files. Number 3, you should have protection from exploits, meaning meron tayong tinatawag kasi na zero-day exploits. Yung zero-day exploits, ito yung mga attacks or vulnerabilities na hindi pa napapublicize. So, hindi pa na-discover, konti pa lang nakakaalam. So, dapat may capability yung endpoint security mo to detect this. There's also data loss protection or DLP. Now, in this age where data privacy is in an all-time high, DLP or data loss protection is very, very important. So this prevents your computers from sending out unapproved data, attachments, files. So hindi basta-basta siya pwedeng kopyahin sa USB and ilipat, no? DLP offers you this protection so that, there will be no unauthorized transfer of data. In some endpoint security, there's also encryption included. Ano yung encryption, diba, no? So, let's say nanakaw yung laptop mo, may sensitive data. If encryption is on, kahit na buksan pa nila yung hard disk mo, basa yung ilagay sa ibang computer, hindi nila mababasa yung files, no? Because there's encryption. So number 5, application and device control. Meaning, kung ano yung ilo-load mo or i-install mo dun sa laptop mo or device mo, you can control kung papayagin mo o hindi. No, there are authorized software, there are unauthorized software. Kasi alam niyo na, madalas, di ba, we just go to the web, yung ganda ng software na to. Download natin, install natin. That's usually the case. So 1, it affects yung security ng device mo. 2, sometimes it affects yung productivity rin ng employee. Like I will download Netflix or I will download YouTube or some other, time-passing applications na pwede kang petiks habang may ginagawa. So it drives the productivity lower. Okay, so that's where application and device control happens. Of course, it should also have reports and alerts. Number 6, no? Dapat masasabihan ka niya if something's happening, may suspect na file, may suspect na virus, may suspect na data leakage. Reports and alerts are, of course, a very, very important component of endpoint security. Now, also, there's after the fact. No? Let's say after all that's said and done, nahack ka pa rin, may nakuha pa rin data. Usually before, ang tinitignan ng mga nag-iimbestiga is yung log files. No? But now we say that log files are, very difficult to read unless meron kang subscribed to Security Operations Center or meron kang security analyst. Pero kung wala, having an incident investigation and remediation component dun sa endpoint security mo will help a lot. Okay? And of course, rapid detection. No? Dapat mabilis yung pag-detect niya. Dapat real time. No? Hindi yung nahack ka na after a while, tsaka nyo palang malalaman na meron na palang Trojan or meron na palang ransomware. No? There should be the endpoint security that you should have, must have rapid detection. Okay? And there's also advanced machine learning. Ayan. So we talk a lot about machine learning, artificial intelligence. So this is a form of automation that sometimes, that particular program can determine faster or sometimes even more intelligent than a human being. Of course, we're only human. So if you have advanced machine learning, yung mga common attacks, common vulnerabilities, mas madali ring makikita and mas madali ring mareremedyohan. Same goes from behavioral monitoring. No? Hindi lang na, dati kasi may tinatawag tayo, di ba, signature-based na antivirus. Meaning, may virus definition, kailangan download mo yung bago. Pag hindi mo na-download yung bago, tapos mayroong virus na bago, hindi makikita ng antivirus mo. So ngayon, there's behavioral monitoring na besides dun sa mga antivirus signatures, it will look at yung behavior patterns ng machine. It will take a baseline, tapos kung kakaiba to, no? Parang, bakit eto nag-login from here? Dati dito naman to nag-login. Eto, bakit nag-login to ng alas 2 ng madaling araw? No? Wala namang office ng alas 2 ng madaling araw. Yung mga ganon can help in preventing and also investigating mga security breaches. Okay? Of course, important rin yung third-party integrations. No? Dapat you should be able to connect with your other devices. If you have a monitoring software, dapat you should also be able to send data and reports to it. Or if you have Active Directory, for example, or any authentication method, dapat it should also be able to complement or to interoperate with them. And then lastly, you should have flexible deployment options. So, Like I said, mahirap na mag-deploy physically, mag-install physically, dapat meron kang remote capabilities to do that. Pwede mong schedule, pwede mong i-determine kung saan. So all of that constitutes your flexible deployment options. So that's what we have for endpoint security. And these are the tips, or actually, sorry, the capabilities that you should look for if you're shopping around for endpoint security. Now, kailan ba tayo nag-iisip ng ng security or mag-secure ng network? Dalawa lang naman yan. One, cybersecurity is an afterthought, meaning reactive ka, and usually nangyayari to pag may nangyari na. Okay. Na-attack ka na-breach ka na, or talagang may masama nang nangyari, tsaka ka lang mag-iisip, ay, kailangan ko ba ng security? A little too late, no? So reactive security ang tawag dito. Hindi mo inisip yung security in the first place until something happens. The second one is compliance-based security. So compliance-based security naman, maglalagay ka ng security or mga controls dahil kailangan, wala kang choice. For example, the Data Privacy Act. No? Kailangan mag-comply ka. Kailangan maglagay ka ng encryption. Kailangan protektahan mo yung data center mo. Kailangan meron kang strong authentication. Kailangan meron kang magandang system to dispose your data. Because kung hindi mo ginawa, either makukulong ka, magkakaroon ka ng criminal fines, or lately, I'm sure the other presenters have already said this, meron na ngayong administrative fines. So non-compliance means fines. And of course, what does that mean to your business? So syempre, it will probably hit your bottom line, so to speak. And of course, hindi rin maganda sa reputation if you don't have these standards, or if you don't follow or comply with these standards. At the same token, kung hindi ka compliant, tapos may mga kakompetensya ka, pwede sabihin nila, hindi naman compliant yun sa data privacy, ba't diyan ka mag-i-invest, or ba't diyan ka magde-deposit? Iba kami compliant. So, sinisigurado namin na yung data mo will be protected. So, you can also work well or augur well for your business. Now, lastly, and what we usually recommend is that yung approach mo to security should be based on risk. This is what we call the best practices. So what do we mean when we say it should be risk-based? Meaning, maglalagay ka ng tamang security controls or mag-install ka ng security systems na tama sa pangangailangan mo based sa mga attacks na nangyayari today. Okay? Kasi you can have a lot of things, you can have a lot of standards, follow different paths to compliance. Pero kung ang pangangailangan mo today, hindi mo natutugunan in terms of security, may bagong attack, wala kang protection, then all of those goes for naught, di ba? Parang baliwala rin kasi na-attack pa. So, like I said, napakarami po ng standards tsaka ng best practices with regards to information security. To name a few, 27001, the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, COBIT, CIS controls, GDPR. For hospitals, there's HIPAA. For banking, of course, there's PCI compliance. And of course, lately, yung Data Privacy Act. So these are all the standards, best practices that we need to follow. So with all of these standards in mind, you're probably going to get confused. Which one do I do? Which one do I follow? What to do first, essentially? Ano bang dapat kong gawin ngayon, di ba? Well, there's such a thing as what we call basic cybersecurity hygiene. There are a lot of standards and frameworks that you can follow, but for the meantime, if you are, let's say, one or two, with regards to considering security, these guidelines from our friends down under Australia, from the Australian Government Signals Directorate, meron silang pinalabas na tawag nila is the Essential 8 Security Controls. This is kind of hit, medyo patok ito sa kanila. Kasi they say, and based from experience, if you follow this Essential 8, you would have solved 80% of cybersecurity issues. So, sabi nila, because of research and all the data and statistics they got, that's been proven. In fact, they espouse this. No, they mandate it. halos sa lahat ng government agencies nila. So let's go through them. No? So one is prevent the attacks. And how do you prevent the attacks? One is by employing application control. Okay? Controlling anong mga application yung papatakbuhin nyo sa PCs nyo or sa devices nyo. Two, patch applications. Ayan. Laging lumalabas to. Pag merong sinabing critical patch yung, let's say, Microsoft Office nyo, lagay nyo na kagad, implement nyo na kagad, update nyo na kagad. So that's why it's called a critical patch kasi there's probably somebody who discovered a flaw or a vulnerability for that application. Three, configure Microsoft Office macros. No? If you see, medyo specific yata ito. No? Bakit Microsoft Office macros? Kasi maraming security issues that arise from yung unguarded Microsoft security Office macros. So you should disable this or either configure it such that it will be in a level that is acceptable to your usage, and also not be able to provide or create the security hole, so to speak, for your applications. And then there's also user application hardening. Ano ba yung hardening? No? Kasi sometimes we put a lot of stuff in our computer na hindi naman natin kailangan. For example, naglagay ka ng movie player. Okay, hindi naman madalas gamitin yung movie player, pero hackers can find a way na, meron parang vulnerability itong movie player. So kahit hindi mo ginagamit yung apps na yun, they can take advantage of that and then be able to do their nefarious deeds. So pwede kang ma-hack because of some other software that you don't know about. So second layer is limit the extent of attacks. One, restrict admin privileges. Yan also another point of contention sa security. Huwag kayo magbibigay ng rights dun sa computer na administrative ang level. Why? Kasi pag admin level yung rights ng user, that means kung na-take over siya or na-hack siya ng application or ng malicious software, yung malicious software, admin din yung rights na makukuha niya. Kaya nga dapat limitahan to. You should limit administrative rights to only personnel or employee na talagang kailangan gamitin siya. So kanina we talk about patching applications. Ito naman, again, very important, patch operating systems. Okay? Pag sinabi ng Windows na merong critical updates, update nyo na kagad because that means merong vulnerability or security hole that was discovered that you need to patch. Okay? And this is also gaining ground. Multi-factor authentication. Hindi na po sapat ngayon ng username and password. Okay? Madali na ma-hack ngayon ng username and password. There's a lot of techniques to do that. There's phishing, there's malware, there's social engineering. There's a lot of ways to get your username and password. Sometimes yung mga nalileak na mga username and passwords that can also be used. So what we espouse is multi-factor authentication. What does MFA or multi-factor authentication means? It means other means of authentication besides username and password. SMS, OTP, that's one. Biometrics, fingerprint, retina scan, no? Yung mga electronic tokens that gives out numbers, yan yung added security for authentication, and those are called multi-factor authentication. And lastly, when all else fails, you should have a strong process of recovering your data and your system. So anong ibig sabihin dito? Simple lang po, backup. No? Dapat may daily backup tayo. But be careful. Meron akong mga kaso na nag-backup nga sila dahil na ransomware sila, pero yung backup pala nila may ransomware din. So again, it's probably your last resort. Kung anything else that happens, you should have a backup. And pag na-backup nyo, as much as possible, don't connect it to the same network or at least archive a version or put ample protection to protect those backups. The problem with all of this is that, especially for hacking, is that it's not if, but it's when and how severe. Okay, you're sure that you're going to be hacked. Okay, but the thing is, you're not sure when it's going to happen, and then how bad it's going to be. Not if, not when. It's going to happen sooner or later, but it's when and how severe it's going to be. So with that, thank you for attending my masterclass. I know it's very short. Usually I can talk about security for 1 week if you allow me, but because it's there's a very limited topic and time on this. That's what I have for you today. Again, I'd like to thank Glow Business for putting up with me and for having me be part of this masterclass. And now, back to you, Sanja.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abit de la Cruz. Grabe, that was very rich. And I hope that everybody here, every company represented here, I hope that you're ready to apply or are already applying the zero trust philosophy ng never trust, always verify, di ba? Kasi while Sir Abit was talking earlier, parang sobrang nakakatakot yung mga cyber attacks na super sophisticated na, and that's why we really need to be vigilant and proactive in protecting our data, di ba? Especially now that we are all using mobile devices to get things done, and having a firewall in your offices is not enough. We really need to consider installing endpoint security in our laptops and our phones as well. And just a quick reminder for everybody as well, I'd like to remind everyone of our exclusive offer to the attendees of this masterclass. Until September 15, the first 10 subscribers to subscribe to AdPrimas through Globe Business will be given a free vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. And this is to help your company become aware of potential cyber hacking risks to your businesses. So if you'd like to learn more about this offer, we have a link posted in the chat box right now. We're ready to entertain questions from our audience. Please send in your questions by typing them in our comment box at the side or at the bottom of your screens, and type the name. I-type niyo po yung pangalan ng ating speaker na gusto niyong i-address yung tanong ninyo. And also, just a reminder that we have a post-event survey, so please make sure to answer that as well, in order for you to get your certificate of attendance, diba? So may I please call on screen now our speakers, Attorney Kiko Acero, Mr. Titus Manuel, and Mr. Abit de la Cruz, to join us for our Q&A session. Okay, so I think we're ready. I think we have a question na meron na kaagad. I think this is for Attorney Kiko.
Okay.
Hi, Attorney Kiko. Okay, this question po, it says here, when the fines of 1% to 5% of annual gross income is implemented in August, will that replace the 100,000 peso to 4 million peso fines that are currently implemented?
No, that's different because there are two separate fining authorities that are doing that. The fines of 100,000 to 4 million, those are implemented by the court. So that's after conviction at the municipal trial court or the regional trial court, as may be. The fines that are that 1 to 5% and 0.5 to 3%, those are implemented by the National Privacy Commission. So ibang bulsa na pupunta yun, ibang pathway yun. And they're cumulative. So if you do something that says 5% of your gross income last year, sige, so let's say that's 4 million pesos. And then you get the 4 million peso fine after conviction, that's a total of 8 million pesos for something.
Oh my gosh. Grabe, this is so serious. We really need to, put a premium on our data privacy. Talaga, no? So, I hope that this gives all our participants the urgency to really increase security and their attitude towards data privacy. Diba? Nakakatakot, nakikita mo nga yung mga different documentaries na lumalabas ngayon. So, lalo na in real life, parang mas nakakatakot talaga. So, we really need to increase our security, diba? We have another question. This is for Sir Titus Manuel. It says here, if we avail of AdPrimas, what are the next steps once our employee finishes the assessment?
Well, it depends din sa resulta ng assessment eh. Normally kasi yan, when the HR and the employees is the results, there are subsequent actions that have to be taken. Pag pumasa ka, ano yan, meron pa rin mga upgrade or update na training programs they have to attend to because as we discussed kanina, hindi siya lang limited to data privacy. Ang compliance ng data privacy. Theoretically, naka-embed din information security for that matter. So talagang marami yan eh. But we're taking it one step at a time. There's no really pass or fail. Just to be able to grade you, ano ba yung alam mo? At ano yung hindi mo alam? It's not there to be able to prosecute you or to nail you to the cross if you actually fail. But the importante is maintindihan ng HR, what will be the next training programs na kailangan empleyado ko? Yun ang importante dyan eh. If I'm not able to answer that one, then I will not be able to solve the problems related to privacy compliance. How will my employees comply pag hindi nila alam yung law by itself?
Tama.
And again, it cannot be an opinion. It's got to be based on data. I hope nasagot natin yung question na yun.
Yes. Kumbaga para magkaroon po ng baseline so that when we know the baseline, mas alam natin ano yung tools na kailangan ng tauhan natin.
Correct.
Diba? Ayan. Thank you so much, Sir Titus. And our next question is for for Sir Abet. Is it possible to control what an employee sends out on their devices? And if data is sent out incorrectly, is it possible to retrieve it?
Okay. Is it possible to control what the employee will send out, the data they will send out? Yes, definitely. No. Na-mention rin to ni Titus, there's what you call the data leak prevention. You can prevent certain types of files or data from exiting your PC. Of course, dapat may kaukulang policy ka dito, no? Matutuwa si Sir Kix and Titus dito. You have to have a data classification policy. Meaning, na-classify mo na data yon, what is public, what is confidential, what is personal information. Kasi with that classification, itatag mo ngayon yung mga files mo. And then yung tags na yun, gagamitin ng software to determine, hindi mo ito pwedeng attach or hindi mo ito pwedeng lagay sa USB. Those are, this is where specifically hand-in-hand a policy will be yung written policy and your data leak protection system will be your technical enforcement. Yeah. So the short answer is yes, definitely.
All right. I hope that answers your question kung sino mong pong nagtanong. Our next question is for Attorney Kiko. It says here, you mentioned that the NPC's administrative penalties will apply beginning August 2021. Can you let us know if the circular for this has been issued? I understand the draft is still being circulated for comment. Okay.
Wala pa, but that's my expectation. That's also the whispers in the wind. So that's good for you to know. So you can get prepared. That's
right. That's right. That's the key. We need to really be prepared for these things, no? Thank you, sir. Our attorney, rather. Our next question po will be for Sir Titus. It says here, will our company be penalized if we will be sending our application this year, yet we are already in 23 years of business operation?
Hindi maliwanag masyado yung question na yun. Maraming mga details na wala.
Okay, sige. If whoever asked that question po, you can fill in the missing details and we'll try to come back to that later on. Sige, let's put a pause muna on that, no? This next question is for Attorney Kiko. Again, it says here, what if the data breach was the fault of our employee and it was proven to be done intentionally or maliciously? What if data was stolen through hacking? What will the company still be liable?
It depends. First of all, did you have internal protocols to check if your employee was disgruntled? And being disgruntled, did he still have access to that data? So one of the things that you're supposed to be doing right now is checking if your employee job satisfaction, because that is a known threat. And if you didn't do that, then that's negligence on your part, and that negligence is what's going to get penalized. If you were assuming that you tracked employee happiness and this guy deliberately hid it from you, you have to show that there was extraordinary effort to conceal the activity before. So none of the warning signs that you have instituted were ever triggered. So it's going to be quite tough if you have nothing there.
Yeah. Totoo. So you have to prove that you were able to do everything to prevent that. That makes sense because accountability ultimately falls upon you, right? You're ultimately responsible. So that makes sense. We have, speaking of assessment kanina, Sir Titus, this next question, it says here, how often should we assess our employees?
Kung first year ka nag-comply, ang recommendation doon is at least twice a year. Because ang importante talaga is to be able to first establish the baseline, take care. So meron ka na doon. And then you start applying whatever policies or principles you have to have for the office. And after 6 months, then you have to do what you call another assessment. This time, you're trying to figure out kasi by that time, we're going to assume na yung PIA mo at nakuha mo na yung mga risks at meron ka na alam ng mga controls. Then you're trying to figure out yung bang controls sa sinet up nyo, alam ng empleyado how to implement them. That's one eh. The second part na madalas mangyari is onboarding. Merong policy pero ang policy nandun lang sa taas. Hindi alam nyo nasa ilalim. Pag walang trickling down, very ineffective yun. The only way you can verify that one is through assessments. Kaya importante assessment tools. Para pag pinresent ng HR yung documents sa board, wala nang away. Because nandun yung data training. Pinag-uusapan nyo lang, kailan namin gagawin yung training program. Oftentimes ito yung deliberation na pupunta sa ibang araw, humahaba at walang nangyayari at end of the day. Napagod kayo lahat, after so much discussion, walang nangyari. Again, going back to that question, a recommendation just twice, especially on your first period compliance.
Ayun. Okay, that's I hope that answers your question. Okay, Sir Titus, kanina po may nagtanong 'di ba na hindi natin nasagot. Nag-send na siya ng follow-up question. So yung tanong po pala niya is 'di ba, will our company be penalized if we will be sending our application kasi yung application na registering to NPC just now after 23 years na daw sila already in business. Ngayon pa lang sila mag-register sa NPC after 23 years. So, mapipenalize daw ba sila?
Might be best na si Attorney Kiko sumagot.
Ayun, Sir Attorney Kiko. Parang nakita ko nag-nod nga kayo, Sir Attorney.
Okay. I was just saying na yes, I understand that it's 23 years in operation. If you were supposed to have registered as early as 2017 because you're probably a financial institution, and a financial institution is under mandatory registration. However, that shouldn't stop you from registering now, because the problem is if you don't register for fear of getting caught, if something happens to you and you're not registered, you can be sure that the fines that are going to be given to you are the maximum. So register na now, get your data privacy program on track. If you're really lucky, you can get done in a year.
Oh, okay. Wow.
If you're lucky. If everything goes right, maybe 6 months, maybe. If you're lucky, a year.
Wow.
Normally, it's around 2 years.
Wow. Oh, wow. So, yeah. 2017, ang tagal na nun. So, the longer you wait, mas malaki po ang haharapin ninyong consequences. So, might as well deal with it now and save your business, di ba? Ayan.
Remember that paying the price for curing whatever's going to happen is always going to be exponentially more than preventing it now.
Yeah.
Baka maiyak kayo pag nakita niyo yung bill for the remediation.
Oh my goodness.
It's not cheap.
mabigat nga po the way you're talking. All right. So to whoever posted that question, I hope that gives you the wake up call. Just do what you can now to prevent further consequences, diba? Ito, I think this goes out to anyone who wants to answer. It says here, is it true that NPC will make the DPO mandatory as a dedicated position for a company to have in 2022?
It should be a dedicated position now.
Oh, wow.
The NPC issues guidelines because it recognizes that you can be a small business, and if you're a small business, then it should be on the president and CEO. If there's any double hatting, it should be on the president and CEO. And if you're as the boss, you're big enough to do other things, and you don't have time for it, it should be a dedicated position because the amount of work that you need to do is just overwhelming. Imagine if everything goes right, that full-time employee with the staff will take a year to get yourself out of without worrying that you're going to get the fine.
Meron lang akong gustong idagdag sa sinabi nga to ni Kiko, no? Ultimately, lalabas kasi yung conflict of interest, eh. If you're doing multiple roles, and how can you be the judge of your own case? Yun ang problema dyan, eh. So it's probably best that you are yung actually double working na double positions, pwedeng temporary lang yun. The idea talaga is after 6 months, na meron ka ng plano na kawawa yung tao doon, eh. You're putting that for the person but also for the company. Siguro si Abid baka meron gustong idagdag sa issue mo.
Actually, this is funny because, Attorney Kicks and Titos have been talking about this for quite some length, no? Yun nga, no? Kasi ang karaniwan, if you're a small company, magkakahirap pa ba ako lang DPO, liit ko, di ba? So, tama si Attorney Kicks, it defaults to the president and chairman. And again, pwede kang mag-hire temporarily, tama si Sir Titus, but you can also outsource some of the work of the DPO as well, no? So let's say, president and CEO ako, I'm also the DPO. Yes, definitely, you can. And you can outsource your work to a third party. Of course, there are rules on how to do that. And Attorney Kicks will be more than happy to detail that.
So, pag ganon, you need a 2-year contract and you need the confidentiality clause. You have to be careful and basically you have to have the guts to be able to transfer knowledge about your entire company's operations, all the secrets, all the pathways of it, to a third party, and that third party will retool your processes. Wala kang reklamo. That's what that outsourcing means. So unless you're ready for that intervention from that, it's not a consultant, it's a third-party provider doing retooling your business. Unless you're ready for that, you have to know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So dapat alam mo yung papasukin mo talaga kasi medyo serious tong usapang ito, no?
So, dapat pinagkakatiwalaan mo talaga yung sino mga third party na yun. You're going to reveal your blood and guts.
Ay,
open
grabe.
open up yourself to the third party. So yes, Attorney Kiko, definitely on spot there.
Yes.
Ang binabanggit is weaponizing what you did not do. Yun ang so, hopefully maliwanag sa ating audience today.
Okay, tatlo na po silang nagsasabi kung gaano to kaseryoso. So sana you take heed, okay? I guess it answers this next question kasi what if we don't have an IT team? What can we do to protect our data? So I guess that kind of answers it. You can hire a third party with, of course, with caution. This goes for Sir Abbott. There are many security appliances nowadays. What appliance will you suggest or recommend to us? It's a pretty practical question.
Yes, that is the common question. Thank you. There's a ton really. They all claim the same thing. They all have extra bells and whistles. But you have to boil down on the fundamental functions that you need the most. I let's say for example, endpoint security, no? Since na-discuss na natin yun. Meron akong minimum 12 things no, that it should do. So it doesn't matter if you're talking about Sophos, if you're talking about McAfee, hindi ako naalala si John McAfee, and you're talking about Norton, it doesn't matter. Basta you have to have those 12 to be able to say or guarantee na the things you want to look out for are being taken care of by that device or that particular software. If it's another security device like a firewall or DLP, there are very good ratings and comparisons of products in the internet. Kung gusto niyo malaman sino ang number 1, number 2, number 3, there's also Gartner, right? The Magic Quadrant. So if you have anything specific, you can also send me an email, tweet me, and I'll point you to the direction where you can see information. Yun po.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. I guess this next question can also be answered by you. It says here, what if the information is sent through a screenshot done through a phone? Will front-end security prevent that from being sent outside the organization?
Okay, very, very common question and very high-tech question, no? So, actually low-tech. So, kung nasa screen mo po, and then meron kumuha from your back, for example, it's a technical because shoulder surfing, right? There's literally no way to protect yourself from that. There is some, but I think it's under experimental stage. There's an AI that will determine if someone's taking a picture, but that's going to be a little far off. On the top of my head, meron po tayong tinatawag na privacy screens. So, yes, these are overlays, like a film that you put inside on top of your monitor. And if somebody is watching on a wrong angle na hindi diretso, hindi siya makikita. Okay, so that's one example. But yes, it's very difficult to protect from a screenshot or somebody looking over your shoulder.
Wow.
All
right.
To share an experience, no, that used to be a problem at an office I used to work for. So what they did was they prohibited mobile phones from being brought into the premises. And then they installed CCTVs at the photocopiers, central photocopiers. So for a time, the information could not leak out. But unless you're willing to enforce that kind of measure, I mean, you're already enforcing that kind of measure as a bank with your customers. You can't bring a mobile phone anymore inside the bank. So can you do that for your employees?
So, dyan meron akong gusto idagdag sa sinabi ni Abby tsaka ni Atty. Kim.
Sige po.
Ang problema kasi ng opisina, they were never designed for privacy. They were designed for convenience. Pinagpasya lahat ng tao na pwede magkasya sa 1 square meter. Talagang kita mo yung kapitbahay mo eh. But the reason why, ang importante right now is to remember the words privacy by design. Even the way you plan out the organization, if you do decide to be able to reshuffle everyone, make sure that actually if your privacy consultant is telling you kung anong danger o hindi. Again, at end of the day, talaga mahirap yan, itago yan. Kasi meron man nakakabili maliit na camera that can spy on everyone. But I think you try to minimize the impact, so to speak. Talaga, sir, it's a very nice question, difficult to answer, by the way. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I just like to point out that this is one of the kind of questions that it's hard to answer using a technical control. As Attorney Kicks aptly pointed out, you answer it with a policy control. Di ba? Hindi pagbawalan mo yung cellphone sa office. Okay, so yeah, actually it has to be a balance most of the times. Yeah.
Meron idagdag na, very important siya. Meron kang ACE, no? Accountability, compliance, and ethics. Kaya importante lagi na pinaglalaban yung ethics because the ethics will take over when the policies cannot be.
Yes.
Technology bago yung bago maigawa yung that's where the ethics comes in. Parang buffer mo yun eh. So, importante that yung kultura ng organization is very clear. Right from the data are people. If you make a
Yeah.
mistake, you're going to ruin someone's life, no?
Yeah. Oh no.
Nilalabi namin
Yeah.
ito, tsaka naabot yan eh. Sige. Sorry, thank you.
Tama. Kaya nga, di ba sinabi na kanina, hyper-focus on people daw. Sabi ni Sir Sam. So,
Yes.
people have lives,
Yeah,
have private lives that you will ruin if you do not comply. That makes it urgent. All right, we're down to our last two questions. There are more questions coming in, but unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time. So if you have questions, just go ahead and put them in the chat box. We will try to answer that via email na lang. Yung hindi po namin mako-cover ngayong hapon. But this next question, I guess is for Attorney Kiko and Sir Titos, no? It says here, we are a third-party service provider. If an applicant fills up our application form, including his or her attached resume with sensitive information and signs acknowledgement to use all details, is that enough as permission to use all of this person's details for company and our client use?
No. Consent is very specific. You cannot just put it inside. If it's in the application form and it's in one small tick box, that might not be enough. The consent that's required to use that information is at least 2 to 3 pages long. It's not that simple. So if you want to get that information and send it to your client, if it contains sensitive personal information, you have to satisfy all the requisites for consent.
Ang tawag namin
Yeah.
try to get away with murder.
Oo nga.
Kasi ano hindi pwede talaga yun, no? Exactly, ako na sinabi na Tony Kiko, no, the answer to that is no. Dapat, you all, the NPC will always lean on the side of sa data subjects.
Yeah.
Tama.
Reminder, that is 5%. That's a 5% offense.
Malaki po yun. Again, I think we just have to remember, no, we're dealing with people and we have to really think that they have life. Behind every form that they sign, there's a life that is at risk for violating their privacy, and we need to respect that. It's a basic human right, diba? And this is the last question, which goes for Attorney Kiko. If we are in the middle of complying with the DPA compliance framework and violated provisions of DPA, will we be penalized by the least penalty, or can we just provide some remedies like letter of explanation? Will they be able to get out of that penalty if ever down, sir? Attorney?
It depends on what kind of charge is levied against you. If you are the subject of a compliance check and they figure out that you're in the middle of it, then you have 10 days to remedy it, which is impossible. Or then they'll give you something, an extension of around 10 more days. So you have to be really in the middle of your compliance program for you to even have a shot to keep on doing what you're doing without cease and desist order. Now, if what you're doing is the subject of a complaint and there is a violation of the law that carries either an admin fine, the admin fine you might get away with as a mitigating circumstance. So anywhere between 1 to 2%, depending on how they feel and how you argue. Your mileage may vary.
Wow.
But your definitely you will get a hit. And if it's a criminal offense, you can't argue that, well, I was in the process of transforming when you hit me and you found that I was doing something criminal. So good luck.
So, no, honesty po is the best policy. Very simple. Let us really keep our integrity. I think that's very basic. And if that's a basic value in our company, I hope that helps us treat people better. Diba? For everybody's, I just want to remind everybody, if you need training to be DPO, NADPOP has this. So just please send an email to privacy@nadpop.org for more information. And again, if you have any more questions, just drop them in the chat box. We'll try to answer them via email. Again, thank you so much to all our speakers for gracing us with your presence in this afternoon's webinar. Ang dami ko pong natutunan, and at the same time, parang ako gano'n pala talaga ka-serious itong issue na to, no? So I hope, kung ako po affected na gano'n, sana po lahat ng participants natin mas affected to take this seriously and protect your company and the people involved, diba? And we hope to have you again, our speakers, at our other Globe Business events. For our attendees, please don't forget to answer the post-event survey so that you can claim your certificate of attendance. Please see the link in the chat box for the post-event survey. Ayan. All right, well, we are nearing the end of our program, and I know lahat kayo, kasi ako, isa to sa favorite parts ko lagi ng mga masterclass ang 1,000 peso GCash credits na paraffle natin this afternoon, okay? So if your name is called, all you have to do is type your name in the chat box and make sure na pinag-uusapan na din po natin ang integrity, make sure kung hindi po kayo, huwag naman kayong sumagot for that person. Diba? So, all you have to do is let us know if you are here. If you call your name, and if you're not here, we will have to give the prize to somebody else. So, you have 10 seconds to verify your attendance. So, ilabas na natin. Sino bang ating winners? Bibilangan ko kayo kung nandito kayo. So, we have our first winner na ba? Jeremy Acosta, are you here? Jeremy Acosta, you have 10 seconds to verify. Sa chat. You have to chat your name. Ayan, here! Congratulations, Sir Jeremy Acosta. We have our next winner. Are you here, Silvida Antiquera? Are you here? Wala pa. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So sorry, we have to give this prize to somebody else. Ay, yan pala, nakahabol! Umahabol siya! Buzzer beater ka! Congratulations! Okay, our third winner, we have Rachel Bulawit. You have 10 seconds to verify your presence. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Rachel Bulawit. 3, 2, 1. Did you make it? Are you here? Miss Rachel Bulawit, are you here? Kasi nakikita namin yung presence mo pero hindi ka nagpaparamdam sa chat. Baka nagkakape siya sa labas. Baka mo munang inumin. Oh. Okay, well, you haven't responded, so we'll give this to somebody else. So sorry. Okay, next winner is, third winner pa rin, Maria Elizabeth Aquino. Are you here? Maria Elizabeth Aquino. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Yay! Congratulations! You're here! Congratulations! And our fourth winner ng 1,000 pesos GCash credits, I see. Who's our next winner? George Dicayco. Sir George Dicayco, are you here? I'm gonna start the countdown now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, present! Gusto ko yung buzzer beater. Okay, and finally, our last winner is Melanie Tabor. Are you here? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wala. Okay, we have to give this to another one. Next winner are hopefully Ay, wala na. That's all na daw. 4 winners lang pala. I apologize. So, congratulations to our winners. That's it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in this masterclass on data privacy and security for financial institutions. Please stay tuned for our next webinar for the financial services institutions. Our upcoming session will be about customer relationship management. Ayan, very interesting. We will be emailing you the post-event kit that contains highlights from today's event, the exclusive masterclass offer, as well as a post-event survey that you need to fill up in order to get your digital certificate of attendance. The special masterclass offer is flashed on the screen. Click the link in the chat box to learn more about the offer. For more digital solutions catered to the financial services, visit the link on screen, which is also provided in the chat box, or check out the Globe Business Academy online for business tips and current trends. I have been your host, Sonja Kalit, and I truly had fun with everybody. Please stay safe, stay healthy. Habang magkakasama, kakayanan natin ito. Tuloy tayo SMEs. And with that, please watch this video. Bye!
Mamang sorbetero, tayo sumayaw. Kalimang mong hawak, muling ikaw ay batang hindi sa'yo'y naghihintay. Biglang ligaya ngayong tag-araw. Mamang sorbetero, anong ngalan mo? Tinda mong ice cream, gustong gusto